Welcome back to the Locker Room, brought to you by Eskenazi Bank, Maury, Eskenazi, and Dimitri, Sandeman. With Halloween next week, tonight is when people have parties and watch horror movies, so we thought we would bring in an expert to help us pick the good ones. And joining us she's a horror hostess, and she reviews horror movies on her website, jillkill.com. She's also a producer and an author. Welcome, Jill Kill. Jill, thanks for coming on with us.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
So you review horror movies. I want to know, what was the movie that you watched that got you hooked on horror movies?
Definitely The Shining.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I saw that at a slumber party when I was, I don't know, maybe like 10 or something.
Uh-huh.
And it just totally got me hooked. All the other girls were asleep, and I was just freaking out all by myself. And I was like, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
I think I saw that movie when I was in my 20s, and I don't think I could sleep for like a couple days. It scared the heck out of me. So
yeah.
What are some of the staple movies that you need to see every Halloween? I mean, what does Jill Kill need to see every year?
Every year, I probably want to see Nightmare on Elm Street. Like anything with Freddy Krueger, I love old school Freddy Krueger, not the new remake one. Like old school 80s Freddy Krueger. I love those movies. Rosemary's Baby. That movie continues to freak me out. I don't know if you've ever seen the original Wicker Man, not the one with Nicolas Cage.
Oh, yeah,
the original
I've seen
was really, really crazy.
Yeah.
But I have a guilty pleasure for what's it called, the Nicolas Cage one as well.
The Nicolas Cage one is more insanely scary because it's Nicolas Cage than that. And
more like, why is he punching women? Why is he wearing a cage full of bees?
It's crazy.
Well, the first one was really weird. Like, he didn't have any idea what was going on for the first hour. But yeah, that they don't make movies like that anymore that are that crazy. At least mainstream movies. So. Right. It's like a weird mix of sexuality and horror. So now it's just American Horror Story when you want that. Yeah, right. I guess it's movie TV. What are some of your favorite movies? I will watch all your reviews. I know that you just reviewed Sinister. What are some of your favorite horror movies that have come out this year? Oh, definitely Sinister and Cabin in the Woods. Okay. Those two are great. And then there's sort of an independent horror movie called VHS. Oh, I just talked about that last week, yeah. Yeah, that's really great. It's by a lot of up-and-coming horror directors, and it's a found footage movie, but it's smart, and it's really, really scary. Don't you think it was kind of crazy that they kind of, because I saw it on In Demand before it came out because I couldn't wait to see it. Don't you think it was a little more crazy that they didn't try to put it in more theaters? Because I thought that it could have been a movie that could have actually been a surprise hit. Right. I think it was a smart decision to release it online first, so that way it built a lot of word of mouth, and I think it did pretty well theatrically for such an independent movie. Oh, right. But I don't know. I don't think they were trying to be the next Paranormal Activity. I think they were trying to do something a little bit edgier, I guess. Yeah. Well, that's actually one of the questions I was gonna ask you too. Is Paranormal Activity? I know the fourth one comes out today. It's kind of become like the Halloween staple of the last few years, kind of like how Saw was a few years prior to that. What's your opinion on the series overall, and are you going to go see the fourth one? I'm not a huge fan of Paranormal Activity. It's a little bit too reality TV for my taste. Right. Like I found the first one's kind of fun and scary, but I didn't really care to follow the story after the ending of the first one. I know a lot of people love it, but I really feel like it's a horror movie for people who aren't that much into horror movies. Exactly. Doesn't it seem like the kind of movie that somebody would just go see for Halloween if it's the only horror movie that they would see the entire year? And it seems like the last three have been the exact same movie. Sure. Why change the recipe? It's doing really well. Yeah, right.
Jill, let's go back to we were talking about the Halloween classic movies. As far as Dimitri goes to all the horror movies. I have a wife who loves horror movies, and they scare the crap out of me. And she drags me to these. And one of our first dates we ever went on, she made me go to the midnight premiere of Carrie, and that has to be a classic Halloween scary movie. And I think on your website you were asking people what their favorite horror movie ending was, and the ending of Carrie still, every time I see this movie, actually let me rephrase that, every time she makes me watch that movie with her, that still kind of scares the hell out of me. No, that's one of my favorites, one of my absolute favorites too. And they're about to remake Carrie, actually. I saw that. Yeah, and I think the ending is going to be bigger and badder with more helicopters exploding this time. Who do you know who's going to be Carrie? Is it Chloe Moretz? Yeah, it's
Chloe Grace Moretz. I don't know why she added a middle name. She's Grace Moretz.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Julianne Moore is going to be playing her crazy religious mom.
They just released the trailer for that last week. I thought it was actually pretty good.
It looks really great. It's by the director of Boys Don't Cry, Kimberly Pierce. And I think it's going to be good, but I just sort of wish they'd come up with an original idea.
So another movie that I remember that really got to me, and as far as I'm concerned, any horror movie that comes out that says based on a true story also scares the hell out of me. Just in that little line gets me. But the original Omen affected me too. What did you think of that?
Oh, I love The Omen. I didn't mind the remake that much, but I really, really love the original Omen.
Uh-huh.
Like anything from the 70s, like The Omen, The Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love those movies.
Right. Yeah.
They had a great tone to them back then, like they really maintained a very scary, well-directed tone.
Yeah, I thought, The Exorcist, I'll never forget that night I went to see it. Again, high school girlfriend, who I'm married to right now, drags me to that movie. I should have got out when I had a chance. And then I got home and my folks were out of town, and I literally had to stay in a house all by myself after watching The Exorcist. That movie, I mean, I saw that a couple of months ago. There's some horror movies that don't, stay scary. They kind of lose something over the years. But that pretty much keeps. Don't you think that still plays well?
Oh, that movie definitely holds up. It's so well directed, and it's really, really scary. And actually, like, there's things like where she's getting an MRI or a spinal tap or something to get her brain checked out. Like the technology of the 70s. Scares me almost more than the demons.
Yeah, totally.
Having to get a serious surgery of the 70s. So scary.
Totally. This is your Listen to Locker Room. We're talking about Halloween horror movies, and our guest is Jill Kill. She's a horror movie expert, and boy, if you want to be entertained, or if you're trying to decide on a movie to go see, go to jillkill.com, and you can see all her reviews of horror movies. What are there anything we're missing as far as the old movies that people should see on Halloween?
Let's see. I love, if you want something really kind of violent, it's Cannibal Holocaust is a classic from 1980.
Have you seen that, Dimitri? That sounds like your kind of movie.
It sounds like something I'd like.
Cannibal Holocaust. I think they played that at your...
Holocaust. Well, it's sort of like one of the first sort of found footage themed movies.
Yeah.
These people go into the jungle looking for cannibals, and they find a little bit too much. And parts of it are a little bit cheesy, but it's really, I don't know, they actually do a little bit of like weird animal abuse, and it's got this gritty 70s, or I guess it's 1980, but it still feels like the 70s. So
I think it's funny that we needed you to explain what Animal Holocaust was. That's awesome. Cannibal. I'm sorry, cannibal. See, I'm so shook up. I don't even know what I'm saying.
I know it's a real life animal holocaust, but luckily no real people were harmed.
Yeah, no kidding.
And luckily you can't make those kind of movies anymore. It's also sort of a relic in that way, where they actually they're harming turtles.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you can't. There would be picketing. What do you think of? I remember those basket case movies. Remember those movies, or the people under the stairs type thing?
Yeah, I love cheesy movies like Basket Case. Those are some of my favorite horror movies. In fact, like one of my guiltiest pleasures I ever saw is Leprechaun Back to the Hood. Like, this is so far down the Leprechaun franchise. It's not even Leprechaun in the Hood, it's Back to the Hood. It's like Leprechaun, who is terrifying people, that series of horror movies. He's gone to the Hood, and he's had like a bunch of like gangsters steal his gold and turn him into gold teeth and stuff, and they get in all these gunfights with a leprechaun, and it's just that nobody's freaked out by the leprechaun either. Like, they're all just shooting at him like, who is this little guy?
I bet
it's so much fun.
I bet the soundtrack is amazing to that movie.
I think I'm going to rent that tonight.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. But again, don't make the mistake in the Hood. It's Back to the Hood.
Back to the Hood.
Back to the Hood.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I have a question. I love, of course, the original John Carpenter Halloween, the 1978 version. A lot of the sequels were terrible. What was your take? I know a lot of the young kids probably watch the Rob Zombie remakes. What's your opinion on the Rob Zombie Halloween remakes?
Well, that's the thing. I really like Rob Zombie as a director. I think he's like, so few horror directors have like their own personal stamp now. It's like you can kind of tell when you're watching an Eli Roth movie, but when you're watching a Rob Zombie movie, you're watching a Rob Zombie movie.
Yeah.
And I prefer his original works, like House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah.
But his Halloween is very watchable and fun. I liked it.
Yeah, I actually thought the second one was better than the first one, and I know it got terrible reviews, but it seemed more like a horror movie to me. So, and of course he's coming out with Lords of Salem next year, which looks great.
Yeah, I wish it was coming out now. I would love to go see that this October, but yeah, you have to wait for next year for that one.
Dimitri, I think we met your perfect woman, haven't we?
I think so.
She sounds like talking to her sounds like I'm talking to you, for God's sakes. Aren't you going to say you had me at Cannibal Holocaust?
Yeah.
Isn't that what you're going to say? Okay.
I know we talked about VHS, but is there any other obscure horror movie from this year that you would recommend for Halloween? That's maybe out in the theater now, or maybe it's just on in demand.
I can't really think of one off the top of my head. Like, there's a lot of great movies are being released by Bloody Disgusting, the website right now.
Right.
They did what I think it's called Exit 29. I saw part of that, and I thought that was pretty fun. But I can't really give my stamp of endorsement because I haven't sat down and watched enough indie horror. Because it's kind of time consuming because you have to sort through a lot of bad ones to find a gem,
Jill, how about all the, it seems like the big thing now are the zombies. They're everywhere in books and movies and TV. What do you think? Are you into the zombie stuff?
I'm very much pro-zombie.
I never thought I would ask that question in my entire life, actually.
I feel like that's a political question.
Yeah, totally.
How do you stand on the zombie problem?
Are you pro-zombie? And how about
I'm very much pro-zombie.
And how about the foreign horror movies? Are there any foreign horror films that we should be aware of?
Oh yeah, one of my favorite ones that I love to tell people about is Martyrs. It's from 2008.
Okay.
It's a fantastic French horror movie. That and Inside, another French horror movie. Those are really, that's for if you have a sort of stronger stomach.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I wrote that down. I just wrote it down. I'm crossing that off now. I'm crossing that off my list.
If you don't like gore, there's another French one called Them. That one's not very gory. It's sort of like the French version of The Strangers.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you saw that American film a few years back. Yeah, that one's really good.
I love The Strangers. Okay, we're going to put you on that. We're putting you on the spot now. I mean, this isn't a horrific question, but your top 5 horror films ever.
Oh,
I mean, I know you have. By the way, I know you have a list of your top 20, but give us an example, of your top 5.
Okay,
if like an alien were to come into the world and you were to say, "Here's 5 horror movies you have to see."
Right. For me, it would be The Shining, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, John Carpenter's The Thing, Silence of the Lambs, which is sort of a thriller, but it shows what an amazing horror movie you can make. That it's won Oscars. And it's gone on to become this huge internet meme. 20 years later, people are still saying, "Put the lotion in the basket." Something about Silence of the Lambs. And then, it's always number 5 that gets me because I kind of shift. I love The Lost Boys. It's not really a strict horror movie. It's more of a comedy.
That's it. He's officially
number 5. You got to give me a wild card. I don't know. It's number 5. I always feel like I'm switching up on.
Yeah, actually, I annoy my co-host here because I talk about The Lost Boys nonstop.
Yeah, nonstop. I mean, that's it. He's flying down. He's going to be stalking you from now on. This is her, Dimitri.
So, what do you have? In the works right now? I know you're working on a screenplay. You write for a show, and I saw some of the clips of it. It was very funny.
Loiter Squad.
What else you have?
I work on an Adult Swim comedy show called Loiter Squad. It's like a sketch comedy show with a lot of weird reality and variety to it. It's a fun show.
Pretty funny stuff.
The creators in it, right?
Yeah, Tyler the Creator's on it, and it's him and a bunch of the guys from Odd Future, Wolfgang. I'm ending that probably at the end of this month, and I'm going to take a little time off and write my own project about cannibals.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, I was interrupted in the middle of working that last year to start this show, so I'm excited to get back to my cannibals.
Well, do I have a film for you? Jill Kill, thank you so much for coming on. Will you come back on with us some other time too?
Absolutely. I know nothing about sports.
That's okay. We didn't talk about sports. It's Jill Kill. You can find her. You can follow her on Twitter at Jill Kills Me. You can go to JillKill.com. Of course, Loiter Squad on Adult Swim, and the book Nymph: The Singularity is available on Amazon.com for $1. Jill, thanks so much for coming on with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come right back. It's The Locker Room, brought to you by Skagit State Bank, right here on Fox Sports 1380.